or in your beautiful names. Thanks for being here. So I'm going to share my screen now. I have a fancy schmancy PowerPoint that I'm going to share for a big portion of our time together. Then we're going to have a bunch of interactive parts towards the end. So just a heads up that we will be talking and collaborating. So can everyone see my PowerPoint? Yes, okay, awesome, thank you. Here we go. So first we're going to take a breath, and before we take a breath, I just want to acknowledge, like, we all know the world we live in. We live in a world where a lot of fucked up shit is going on, and I just want to name that, and I want to give us permission to step into a space where we're going to hopefully access some joy, be in community, be in a spiritual space. We're allowed to do that. Like, we're allowed to exist in the end also. And I think I needed that reminder for myself recently that, like, this is necessary. It's one of many forms of rest that we need in order to sustain ourselves through all the things that are happening in our lives and in our world. So with that, let us take a breath, because I'm sure we all need it and our nervous systems can use it. And I think it's also a really nice way to separate ourselves from wherever we just came, from the rest of our day, into this space that we're going into, because whether we think tarot is just for fun or a spiritual practice, it is, I think, important to consciously step into that space. So let's take a breath to kind of clear ourselves as we consciously go into this space, but also to help calm ourselves. And I think whether we choose this type of breathing on the left, which is what I usually do. I'm sure there's a name. I don't know what the fuck that name is. Or the one on the right, which I do know the name. It's called box breathing. Or if you have any other form of breathing that you like to do, I want you to do whatever feels good for you. But my emphasis is always to do it slowly. When we are doing breathing, especially if we're trying to calm our nervous system, the most important part of it is to do it slowly. So on the left, I do this thing where I slowly inhale for 5 seconds. Lately, I've been doing 6 seconds. It has a tarot intention that I can tell you later if you would like to know. Then we pause for 3 seconds, slowly exhale for 5 or 6 seconds, pause for 3 seconds, and then repeat 3 times. On the right, the box breathing is very similar, but it's called box breathing because we do the inhale, pause, exhale, and pause, all for the same amount of seconds, 4, 5, 6 seconds, you can choose. So in your own time, however you would like to, let's take a few slow breaths. Go for it. For my friends who are off camera, if you could give me thumbs up when you are done with your breaths, that would be awesome. Thank you. Seeing a few thumbs ups. Okay. Oh, hey, that's me. Look how cute I am. So you've heard I'm a tarot reader, I'm a peer counselor. I do a lot of fat liberation work. I run a peer support space called Fat as Fuck. It's for fat people only. We have one spot available currently. In addition, for this tarot class, which I also teach for the Trans Lounge at the LA LGBT Center, it's also virtual. You don't have to be in LA to do it. I also do a monthly virtual event for NAFA. It's another fat-only space. And NAFA, if you don't know, is the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance. It's the oldest fat rights organization in the world. Super fucking rad. And yeah, I do that event with them. We've been doing that for over 3 years, and I do a bunch of other random events for them throughout the year. And they do plenty of other cool stuff. So if you're interested in that, you can look into that. There's my website and my Instagram if you want to be friends on the internet. But honestly, most importantly, what I need you to know, what's shoved in the corner of this slide, is this is just how I do tarot. Okay, this is what I want you to know. This is just how I do it. I am the kind of witch that is like, don't fucking tell me what to do. Like, I'm the kind of witch that does things my way. If I had to pick a label, I'm an eclectic witch. I do whatever I want, however I want. And I believe that the foundation of all magic and witchcraft is intention. And so I'm very much like, take what you like and leave the rest. I believe if I gave this PowerPoint to 5 different tarot readers, that they would all teach this class differently and they would all be right. I've had 1 million tarot readings and they've all read the cards differently and they've all been good readings. So if I tell you something in here that you're like, nah, that's not what I've heard, it's okay. It's fine. If it resonates with you, but it's not what you've heard, then that's cool. Like, you're learning something new. Maybe it's just what you've heard didn't click for you, but now you're going to hear something cool. If you hear something and it doesn't resonate with you, it just doesn't resonate with you. So I always want you to go with your gut. If something doesn't feel right for you, it's because it doesn't work for you. If something does feel right for you, then that's what you should go with. Okay? So that's just what I want you to know. So what to expect today, look out for resources to support your learning. So Lena told you that you're going to get some stuff afterwards. I put together the world's biggest Google Doc full of information. That's everything that you're going to hear today, plus stuff that you're not going to hear today, because I've put together like a huge curriculum of like all the cards and stuff. Like, we're only going to go over one card today, but it has stuff in it that we're not even going to go over today. So whether or not you ever come to one of my classes again, there's going to be information on that document to supplement your learning moving forward. So look out for that Google Doc. It's a living document. I update it when I remember, as I continue to learn, because even though I'm a tarot reader, I'm always learning, and my shit evolves too. And then I also collaborate with people in these classes, so things that we talk about in ritual and stuff like that might get added to these documents. So look out for that. We're going to talk about why I love using playing cards for tarot, how to use them. I'm going to give you some tips on like how you can pick things out as a new reader really quickly. We're going to talk about the card of the day. Then we're going to do a ritual together inspired by the card of the day. That basically, the point of it is to teach you how to pull things from the tarot cards and think outside the box about how you can apply them into your self-care and spiritual practices in order to like support yourself through what you're going through, or to help you manifest or create movement towards what you're trying to do. Then with whatever time we have left at the end, I'm going to do tarot readings for whoever wants one. We obviously have a lot to go through. So I'm going to talk. I'm going to be like, blah, 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 blah. Please ask questions at any time. Raise your virtual hand I can see the screen, so you can raise your virtual hand, but I cannot see the chat. But if you prefer to use the chat, that is fine. Lena will just let me know if there's something in the chat that I need to see, okay? But I am not offended by being interrupted because I know that I will not shut the fuck up. So please just ask questions. If you want to talk about something, if you want to go on a little tangent, talk about your favorite tarot card, whatever, let's do it. Just chime in, okay? Here we go. This is one of my favorite things about using playing cards for tarot. Tarot originated as playing cards. So the original tarot deck was actually some just like rich motherfucker in Italy in the 1400s was like, yo, I'm rich and I want my own fancy deck of playing cards. So he was like, hey, artist, here's some gold. Paint me my own unique deck of playing cards. And so he did. And then 300 years later, some fucking weirdo, a witch, was like, wow, look at these cards. I'm gonna assign meaning to them and use them for divination. And then that's how tarot happened. So this always makes me laugh because I've had little fucking, probably children on the internet, on TikTok, try to be like, what the fuck are you doing using playing cards? You're an idiot. And I'm like, no, actually you're the idiot because you obviously don't know your tarot history. They literally started out as playing cards. And this is not the originals, but this is like a recreation of what some of the cards looked like. Now, based on the subtitle of this class, the accessibility of it all is really deep down why I love this form of divination, using playing cards for tarot. It is all about accessibility to me. So they are financially accessible. Hands down, they just are more financially accessible than tarot cards. They are cheaper and they are more widely available than tarot cards. I know for a fact I could go to most dollar stores and find playing cards. I know for a fact you are not going to any dollar store and finding a tarot deck at the fucking dollar store. Maybe a thrift store, but not a dollar store. They're also emotionally accessible. So what I mean by this is when I find they're emotionally accessible to people who are receiving a reading. And I learned this when I first started doing tarot readings. And I was using traditional decks. And people would shut down when they would get the cards, the scary cards, the death card, the tower card. There's this card, the Three of Swords, where it's a heart with three swords, like stabbing it. Pretty much any card that has like any kind of scary imagery on it. I still sometimes get scared of the cards, and I know better because it's just what our brain does when we see that imagery. I'm a really, as you can see, I'm talkative, and as a reader, I am collaborative and communicative in my readings. I basically am like, I'm not a fucking psychic. I don't know your life. So if you don't tell me what is going on, I can't really apply the cards to your life. I can just tell you what the cards mean, which is fine. If that's what somebody wants, that's fine. But I really can't I can't dig deeper unless someone talks to me. And so when we use the traditional decks and someone shuts down and their walls go up, we can't have that deeper meaning. When I started using playing cards, people are more familiar with them. They think it's cute and cool, and they're just like more open, more warm, more willing to communicate. And there's just, those pictures just aren't there. There's nothing for them to get caught up on or stuck in or whatever. And we just start to have a conversation, and the readings are much more deeper and successful, in my opinion. As a reader, I find that using playing cards have been more accessible for my learning. I never thought I'd be a tarot reader, let alone here teaching you a fucking tarot class, okay? I do not have a good memory for a lot of different reasons. I am neurodivergent, I'm chronically ill, I'm on a bunch of meds, I may be a fucking stoner. There are a lot of reasons why I don't have a good memory, okay? There are a lot of things to remember in tarot. But when you break it down with the playing cards, you'll find out soon why there is a lot less to remember. I mean, just without the pictures alone, there's a lot less to remember. There are less cards and there's less pictures. Also, the familiarity, I do think, helps with our learning. Just like the familiarity helps people feel comfortable to contribute to the reading, I think our familiarity with the deck as readers helps us do a reading. And I think if you're a reader and you have multiple decks, you know there are certain decks that you lean towards or you go to more. And those are the decks you just feel more comfortable with and you do better readings with. I think the same goes for playing cards. I read primarily with Uno cards. Those are the cards that I'm more familiar with, that I played with growing up. Safety and privacy. So if, say you live in a house with people that you don't want up in your shit, you don't want them to know what your spiritual practice is, that you're a witch or whatever, you can have playing cards around, using them as part of your spiritual practice, and no one will have any idea what you're doing with them. Or say you're in public, maybe you're traveling or you're at a park and you don't want people to know what you're doing. Again, you can be using Uno or playing cards and nobody will suspect what you're doing. I don't know if y'all have heard the term witch in the quote-unquote broom closet. But yeah, if you're somebody in the broom closet and you don't want people to know about your shit, you can be using these and helping keep yourself safe. All right, so now we're going to get into how to do this thing. So first, let's talk about, if you aren't already aware, some of the language of tarot. We've got the minor arcana and the major arcana. The minor arcana are the cards that are the ones that are basically defined by having a number and a suit. This also includes the court cards. So we're talking about the 5 of Pentacles, the 6 of Cups, the 10 of Wands, the 9 of Cups, those cards. And then the court cards are, yeah, there you go. The court cards are the Page, the Knight, the Queen, and the King. So all those cards are their minor arcana. That's what we're working with when we're working with the playing cards for tarot. The major arcana are all those other ones that do not have, well, they technically have numbers on top, but we don't read the numbers when we call the card name. Like we're calling Judgment, we're calling the World, we're calling the Tower. And we can read the numerology as part of the meaning, but we're not calling like number 16, the Tower. Like when we read the card, we're not calling it that. Anyway, so the major arcana are all those with words that define them. And we're actually not using any of those cards when we're using playing cards for tarot. So we're literally just throwing them out. And that's okay. I find that this is okay in the tarot readings that I do, because the minor arcana, most people agree that the minor arcana is, the themes in minor arcana are about like the everyday kind of nitty-gritty details of life. Whereas the major arcana, the themes are about like these huge overarching details of life. And in the readings I normally get, people are asking for those everyday life things, not necessarily those big overarching themes. So when I go for a traditional tarot deck, it's usually for maybe like a New Year's reading or an annual birthday reading or some sort of like large reading like that where I might want that. But when it's for like a everyday kind of reading, the playing cards are really all I need. And that's what most people need. People are coming for relationship advice, job advice, stuff about their living situation, stuff like that. All right, here's how it works with the cards. So for Uno, the numbers are mostly all there, 2 through 9. There's no ace, but there is a number 1, so 1 just becomes the ace. And there's no 10, but there is the number 0, so we just make the number 0 the 10. And then with the playing cards, 2 through 10 are the same. And since they're, oh wait, I'm getting my shit mixed up. Whatever, I think y'all are following. 2 through 10 are the same. The ace becomes the 1. Or the ace is, whatever. There's a fucking ace. There it is. The suits in Uno. So the colors of Uno, when I first was playing around with this, I just kind of like guessed in my head what made sense. And you wouldn't believe that what made sense literally is the colors that are associated with the suits. So when you get the document that I created, there will be a book in there that I suggest that I learned from. And the book literally says these are just the colors that go with the suits. Just like there are elements that are associated with the suits. There are colors that are associated with the suits. So the red is wands, the green is pentacles, the blue is cups, and the yellow is swords. And then for the playing cards, man, the playing cards fuck with my head. I think there's something about all the little symbols that just make my brain short circuit. So I have a hard time remembering them when I try to use them. So I use Uno cards. But the clubs are wands, the diamonds are pentacles, the hearts are cups, and the spades are swords. And the way I try to make my brain remember this is like, okay, clubs, if I think of like the weapon clubs, they kind of look like wands, so then I try to like remember that. Diamonds come from earth, pentacles are associated with earth, so I would try to remember that. Hearts, cups are the realm of emotions and relationships, so I try to connect it that way. And then spades are pointy like swords. So I try to think of these ways, like what are little like things that can trick my brain into remembering these things. There's no court cards in Uno, so we don't work with them, but we do have something extra fun in Uno that we will work with. We have court cards in the playing cards, but we're missing one. So as a reader, you get to decide how you want to do this. So we do not have a knight in playing cards. So what you can do is you can use the jack, and you can say, the jack is the page, and I'm just throwing out the knight, and we're just not going to have a knight. And that's just it. Or you can say the jack could represent either the page or the knight, and while I'm in a reading, I'm just going to vibe it out. Like as I'm reading, I'll just trust that I will know, based on the reading, what one it's supposed to be. Or you can be a collaborative reader, and you can, if you're not sure which one it is, you can present both meanings to the person that you're reading for and be like, well, this is what the page means, this is what the knight means, which one resonates with you? And you can let that person decide which one they vibe with. And then we have the queen and the king, which are the same. Okay, so we may not have the court cards with the Uno, but we do have what I like to call the Uno Arcana. So these are all those extra Uno cards that that make you have to do mostly annoying things when you're playing Uno, like the reverse, like when you change direction in the game, or you have to draw two, or the wild card. So I use that. I use that when I am reading tarot. And like I said earlier, the foundation of all magic and witchcraft to me is intention. So when I started reading with Uno cards, I just went with my gut, and these are the meanings that made sense to me for these cards. So the stop card, this is the stop symbol, reflects the need to stop or pause. The reverse card, so this is the reverse symbol, not like a reversed card, means that there needs to be reflection, revisiting, or reevaluating. The draw two card means that a little more work needs to be done. The wild card, this is another time I will collaborate with the person I'm reading for, and I will ask them, like, what is the language that you use for, like, higher powers, the universe, God, the divine, unseen forces? Like, what language do you use for that? And if the person says, I use the universe, I will say the wild card is the universe card, and it basically represents any way that you can engage with the universe. And a lot of times we'll have a conversation about, like, what that means for them, like what's their relationship with the universe, how do they engage with it, and depending on if the card is upright or reversed will kind of depend on what it means. And then when we have the wild card plus 4, it's a combination between the wild card and the draw 2 card. And I think one of the most important parts of that combination is recognizing the importance that, like, even though we can always, like, ask for and engage, like, spiritual support, we always do have to be accountable for, like, our human flesh suit responsibility as well. So there's that, like, end also there. Oh, and I forgot to mention about the wild card. Let me see if I can find one real quick. The wild card always has all 4 colors of all 4 suits represented on it. And to me, that represents, like, the balance between all the realms of our lives, because all the suits represent the different areas of our life. So depending on the reading will depend on how it reflects that need or the affirmation of balance in a person's life. All right, how are we doing? Any questions or anything?
None in the chat so far.
Okay, thank you. Here are some quick tips for how you can, like, pull feedback, like, immediately when you are reading. So one thing you can do when you pull a card, a minor arcana card that has a number, is all of the tarot is a chronological storyline. Like, even the major arcana is a chronological storyline. Even the court cards are a condensed chronological storyline. And then the ace to the 10, or the 1 through the 10, is a chronological storyline. So when you pull one of those numbers right off the bat, as soon as you see that number, you can pull a piece of feedback, which is knowing at what point of a cycle is somebody. Now, of course, you're going to unpack so much more information about the number and about the suit that's going to influence, that cycle. But right away, you'll know where they are in a cycle. So the ace is the beginning. The 9 is actually the end. And the 10 is the point of transition between cycles. So the 10 is not the end. The 9 is the end. So that affects where everything else falls in between. So the 5 is about the middle. Ace is the beginning, 9 is the end, 10 is the point of transition. So once you pull those numbers, you know, like, oh, you're the number 8, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, you're almost there. Number 3, you're not at the very beginning, but you're still got a ways to go, 10, you're in between. So there's a lot of information about the in between, but it's a very special place to be. Now, when you pull, depending on the suit you pull, you can pull some quick feedback about like whether somebody can maybe utilize their spirituality or their intuition, or whether maybe they could go more logical with it. So the wands and the cups are spiritual suits, and the swords and the pentacles are logical suits. But the thing with these is that they don't have the same exact energies. In fact, they're kind of on different ends of the spectrum from each other. So even though the wands and the cups are both like spiritual, intuitive kind of suits, the wands is fire energy and cups is water, is like associated with the element of water. So just knowing those elements alone, like fire and water are like polar opposites. And if you think about like what are the energies of fire and water, you could probably think about what are the energies of wands and cups. They're very, very different, but they're both spiritual. And the same goes for swords and pentacles. Like they're both logical, but they're very different. Swords is air and pentacles is earth. So they're different types of logic that you would be suggesting them to utilize. With reverse cards, this is another thing as a reader that you decide. And I'm talking about when the card is physically reversed. Some people interpret reverse cards as the opposite of the meaning or like a negative meaning. And then some people will interpret them as like a block or delay. Either way, you're getting immediate feedback when you see that the card is reversed. My suggestion about deciding on how to read reverse cards is that you do decide that prior to doing a reading. Like, don't decide that in the middle of a reading the way you could maybe vibe, that page night thing. I think this is one of those things that, like, you decide as a reader, this is how I do this thing. And then this last thing, this is more like a teaching tool. When I was first learning how to read, I felt like I did not know how to string a sentence together to sound like I knew what I was talking about when I was reading tarot. I was just like, this means this, this means this, this means this. I didn't know how to like be like, I don't know, I just wanted to feel like a tarot reader. So I came up with this formula to try and feel like I knew what I was talking about. And so I just wanted to like share that formula. But the caveat here is that I don't read like this anymore. I read kind of all over the place, and I just trust that what needs to be said is going to be said. But it was really helpful for me to like gain my confidence to figure this out. So my formula was basically, I see your hand. Let me just finish my sentence. My formula was basically like to take the feedback from the number and to apply it to the realm of the suit. So if we have an Ace of Pentacles, and if the Ace is the beginning of a cycle and the Pentacles is the realm of our body or our physical needs, if we put it together, the Ace of Pentacles reflects a new beginning in the realm of physical needs for the body. Wow, all of a sudden I'm a tarot reader and I sound like I know what I'm talking about. What's up, Mo?
Also for me, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Also for me, with reversals, I will, that will depend on what deck I'm using sometimes. For some decks, I don't read reversals for them. And then for other decks, I will. So that can depend, again, on the deck I'm using. But sometimes, even with the deck I might typically read reversals in, sometimes for a particular reading, or if I'm unsure of whether the card came up upright or reversed, I'll kind of intuitively take like which meaning that I feel like it is at the time, I guess.
Mm-hmm. How do you like, is it like a vibe, or like how do you know like between the decks like which ones you like read reverse or not?
Right. So some of my decks, okay. Typically when I get new decks, something I like to do is acquaint myself with my new deck. It's kind of like opening a conversation because in my experience, I have different decks which will have different overall sort of like personalities. It's hard to, but they have different vibes. Okay. And so the way that they will read it will actually kind of vary from like some decks are more humorous in how they like communicate. Some are very like to the point, very like straightforward. And sometimes sometimes I'll be like, do I read this deck in reverse? And it'll say like what how it likes to be read. It's hard to explain. Or other times, the card backing, if it doesn't have a like a reversible card back, like it looks like it's supposed to be upright, like and you can tell when it's reversed. Sometimes I won't read like for Uno cards. I've never actually read them reverse, so I think that's interesting that you do. And I might try that. I think I'm gonna try getting more into that. And also, but yeah, sometimes like if it doesn't have a reversible back, I don't read sometimes those cards in reverse. But in terms of the decks I typically do read reversals for a thing, but I might not take a reversal at the time. That will depend on that is a vibe, but sometimes it's also I get clarification on a card, and if I get clarification, it's like okay, that's how I was supposed to read that upright or reverse specifically.
Mm-hmm. I love the reminder of the personality of the decks. That made me laugh because it is fucking true. My Oracle decks are like that too. I have specific Oracle decks that like I have to keep decks separate for like just me versus the ones I use for work. And the ones I use for work, they get offended when my clients don't use them for a while. And then like a client will pick one that hasn't been used for a while and it'll literally just like doesn't want to be shuffled, is being kind of a bitch, like, and I'm just like, girl, you just got picked, like relax. So yeah, that's really, really, really funny. Yeah, thank you for that. See, you all, we all do things differently and it is okay. And this is also the reminder of just like, sometimes you just got to do the thing to figure out how it's going to work for you. So thank you for that, Mo. All right. Now we're going to get to the card of the day. I can't believe it's already 3:45. I'm having a blast talking to y'all. The card of the day today is Seven of Wands. And this is a really good... What's up, Lena?
So before we get into that, there is one question that came in the Q&A box that I'll give voice to. You want to take a moment for it? So it says, so I have a Thoth deck, and I hear so many conflicting things about people saying you shouldn't read reversals for Thoth decks because they're not meant to be read that way, and it's unnecessary and just oversimplifies their meanings, and other people say it's literally fine. What do you think? Am I messing up my readings if I'm reading reversals from a Thoth deck?
I think you should do whatever the fuck you want. I think that if you're still unsure, maybe it's worth doing like a spiritual exercise with your deck. Like how we were just talking about how we like have relationships with our decks. Like maybe talk to your deck about it. Maybe it says, I don't know if you are like a meditator or a visualizer, or you just want to do a reading with the deck where you talk to your deck about it. Like whatever, what's the word I'm looking for? Whatever way of going about it feels good to you, resonates with you, is the way I would go about it. But I would not listen to anybody else. Don't listen to anybody else. I'm like mad for you now that other people are like getting you in your head about how you should do your spiritual practice, no. Mm-mm. And honestly, that's a good segue into this, because we're about to talk about a spiritual ass card. And this card is a really good example of how the imagery on the deck can look whack as hell, but actually be a really rad card. So look how scary this card is. This card looks terrifying when you pull it from traditional decks, but it's actually really a really rad card. And I'm gonna like peek behind the curtain for a second. So usually when I choose the card of the day, I pull it from like cards that are speaking to me in my own practice. But this time I felt compelled to actually go to my deck and ask for a card specifically for this month, because I was just like, there's just so much going on. I'm feeling overwhelmed myself. I didn't know what to do. I felt pressure to do the right thing or whatever. And so I just was like, tell me what card we need. And this is the card we got. So the Seven of Wands. At face value, here are some things we might pull from the Seven of Wands, and then I'll tell you how I got there. So maybe we're being faced with our personal truth around like the mark we want to put on the world. Maybe we have like a really intense desire to engage in the things that bring us joy. I'm talking really intense, like we have to do it. Or maybe we're going like inward to evaluate things in our lives, but going outward with our passions, like we just have to put things out into the world. When things like this, or really in any reading, resonate with us, it could be affirming our experience. If things don't resonate with us in our reading, it could be feedback for us to consider. So how did I pull those ideas from that card? So we talked about the chronological narrative. This is where the 7 lies on the chronological narrative. It is not quite there, but getting close to the end. And when we're getting close to the end in the chronological storyline, this is the point which some call in like the movies and stuff, the dark night of the soul. So shit gets real right here. It's kind of this time where like it's like feels like the final boss in the video game, but the final boss is actually us. It's like inside of us. Yeah, fucked. Super fucked. But the good part about this, what I need you to know, because this is very optimistic, the number 8 comes next, and the number 8 is a number of personal power and confidence, and being reminded that we have everything that we need to achieve what we need. I'm like having chills because it's my favorite number. So on the other side of this like final boss, which is ourselves, is us stepping into our power. Some of the symbolic meaning. So it's an incredibly spiritual time. We really can't go inward and do this soul searching without also like leaning on whatever our spirit team or the universe, all that, question of what language you use, insert here. There's no soul searching without X doing that as well. It's very much like a meaning, like seeking the meaning of life kind of moment. It's a moment of like getting rigorously honest with ourselves about what we want and what we need in our lives, and with whatever suit it's associated with. It's usually associated with that suit. We may need to be alone during this time to figure it out. Because we're in this moment of like deep evaluation, it suggests that we don't we don't start anything new, especially in like the material world, because we might be then distracted or putting our efforts in the wrong area when we need to be just keeping it here. It's the perfect time to explore creativity, spirituality, or really anything that resonates with us, that makes us feel like anything that's true to us, anything that has always been like the thing that we naturally go to, because that's going to be the thing that helps us explore that whole like inner truth, help me seek what I'm seeking sort of thing. And that is paired really well with the wands, because the wands is the realm of what I like to call everything we really give a fuck about. And I call it that because it's the realm of passion, but people mistake passion for love, and that is not this realm. This is the realm of creativity and self-expression and inspiration. And even if you're not an artist, like creativity doesn't always have to be in the arts. We can think creatively. We can do everyday tasks creatively. And so the 7 being paired with the wands is just like bursting with that, that spirituality and that creativity. Because if you remember, the wands is one of those spiritual suits. So when I say the 7 of wands is spiritual as fuck, I'm saying that the 7 of wands is spiritual as fuck. It's very active and outer directed. It's very much just like, it's like an extroverted suit. It's very like out in the world. It's very loud. It wants to be social. It's associated with the element of fire. So when it comes to the elements, I usually recommend folks think about how the elements resonate with you, and those meanings can always, like, there can be a million different meanings about how the elements can resonate with us, and then how we can interpret those meanings in our lives. And I think that the elements are like the best ways to pull from when we want to think of how can we put this in our self-care and spiritual practice. But a couple of ways that I think about fire is like, it may suggest the need to burn it all down so we can rebuild it exactly as we please. Fire is very cleansing in a very swift and powerful way. And just as it is cleansing, it can also repel. So we can do that if we want to incorporate it in our lives. You can do it with smudging. You can do it with incense. If you have a cauldron, even if you just have like an old pot that you don't mind burning shit in, you could get a pot and burn some shit in it. But I always warn folks to be very thoughtful when you're using fire, like intentionally for like magical use, just because it is an incredibly powerful element and it acts very quickly. So if you're going to use fire and you're using only fire, like use it once and then maybe don't use it again for like a week or so, or use it and balance it out with other elements. Like, for example, if you want to use a candle because the candle has a flame, the candle also has other elements associated with it, so it balances it out. Or like if you're cooking over a flame, but you're cooking with food, which represents earth, like that also balances out the intention of the fire, stuff like that. Okay, now we're at our ritual. Let me see what time it is. Oh, good, we're making decent time. So now we're gonna do a ritual inspired by the 7 of Wands. It is pretty simple. You need a piece of paper. I put here it needs to be like a traditional, like not traditional, like a printer paper, but it actually doesn't. Get any paper you have. And then a red marker, pen, paint, whatever. Red is ideal since we're working with wands. And as you're gathering that, I'm going to try to start explaining what we're going to do. So the first part of this ritual is that we're going to write about our own thoughts and feelings about our personal realm of wands. And when we get to that portion, I'll go back to the wands slide so you can reflect on what wands means to you. And we're kind of going to be thinking about those intentions of the number 7, being rigorously honest with ourselves. What do we really want and need when it comes to the wands, which is our realm of our passion and what we want to put out in the world. And so I'm going to have a timer for just a few minutes, and we're just going to stream of consciousness write for a few minutes. And then when that's over, on the other side, we're going to draw some symbols that reflect our goals. And if you don't know what to draw, you can just scribble or doodle. And basically what we're doing, this might sound super basic, but this is kind of the point to show you how easy and accessible magic can be. Because what we're doing is we're doing color magic by using the color red, which is the color associated with wands. We're harnessing the intention of the number 7 by focusing on like our inner focus and the rigorous honesty and all of that. And then we're also utilizing wands creativity and self-expression by even using like art and writing and just writing out our thoughts and feelings. And then by drawing out symbols or scribbles or doodles, it's actually another word for that in magic could be sigils. Has anybody else heard of sigils? I know Mo has. I see Sophie has. Yeah. So sigils are basically just witchcraft symbols. And you can Google other ways to do them. Sometimes people will just, they'll break down a word and combine letters into a symbol. But I believe you can just draw anything. So let's just start with the first part. Are there any questions? Because I know this might be a little...
None in the chat currently.
Okay. So whether you want to fold your paper in half or just use the front and the back, I'm going to fold my paper in half, and on the left side, I'm going to write, and on the right side, I'm going to draw. On the left side, okay, so we're starting with the writing, and since we're doing, let's see, what time is it? It's 4 o'clock already. Let's do 2 minutes, and just, you're doing a stream of consciousness, write about your thoughts and feelings about what you feel like you want and need in your personal realm of wands. And my timer starts now. the timer. And now we're going to, whether you are doing it on the other side of the page or you fold it in half and you're doing it on your other half, we're going to scribble or draw or make sigils that represent represent the goals or whatever it is like you just wrote that you would like to, that you want and need. We're going to draw the sigils, symbols, doodles that represent those things. So basically we're trying to create movement or manifest those things with our symbols. So I'll do another 2-minute timer for that. All right, there's our other timer. Wrap up whatever you're doing. All right. Does anybody want to share what they drew or what came up for them? I think we could maybe do just like a few quick minutes of sharing before we do readings. I can start just to kind of not put anybody else on the spot first. I wrote about like I've been having a lot of feelings of fear coming up around like a passion project of mine, and that's really annoying. Like I want to do this thing, but I have a lot of fear coming up. So I want to release that fear and whatever else is keeping me from continuing that project. So I drew this like demon creature, which like demons are like associated with the project, devils and demons. And I wrote fear inside its mouth, so it's like eating the fear, and like crossed out the fear just to make sure we like are certain that the fear needs to fuck off. And then I tried one of the sigil things where like we like break down words and letters to make sigils. So I use the like letters of my project to write sigils to like manifest the project. And then I use some more letters. This one is actually based on the word fat, because my project is a fat liberation project. So I did this one just to like call on like fat community and fat ancestors to help me. And that's what I did. Does anyone else want to share?
Sure. My problem in the recent times has been overthinking. So I wrote, I guess my innermost desire is a clear mind to find the focus to achieve my creativity, be a better version of myself, whether that be letting go of shame or improving my soul or both. And started out scribbling in the center and then just drew a biblically accurate angel.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
We could probably have one more share before we do ratings. Anybody else want to share? All right.